Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Business Growth Show, where we talk about all components of business and how you utilize them for exponential growth. My name is Athin Cassiotis. I'm a serial entrepreneur, international speaker, results strategist, business coach, mentor, and consultant. Today, I have an awesome guest. He's a serial entrepreneur, author, speaker, human performance expert, a black belt in Jinsei Budo, CEO and co-founder of CEO Warrior, as well as the CEO and founder of Fudog Group. He grew his electrical company from nothing into a $32 million per year business and his coaching company into a $40 million per year business. Welcome, Mike Agugliaro, also known as Mike A, and thank you for being on my show.
Yeah, super glad to be here. Excited to share all kinds of magic with everybody.
Awesome. So awesome. I'm sure it's going to be an amazing show for everybody watching and listening today. So you're a very successful entrepreneur. So for those people who don't know who you are, please introduce yourself by telling us about you and your journey.
Yeah. So I always say one of the best things about my journey you should know about me is, I've been with my beautiful wife since I'm 15 years old. That's going on over 35 years. I'm a father and I'm super proud of that. I have a he'll be 22, couple weeks from now, year-old son who's just a combat expert and has his own business online, and a 19-year-old daughter who runs her own virtual yoga business, and she's got corporate clients. And so I'm a proud dad, and I'm a business builder. But more than that, Athin, is I'm somebody, if you look at me and say, who's Mike A, I'm somebody who removes suffering. Right? That's the deal. It doesn't matter if it's business suffering or personal life suffering. My job is to just help somebody transform permanently. In the world today, there's so many people there, they have temporary motivation, temporary excitement. And then Monday comes, everything's back to normal. I look for transformation, right? What can we do to make you permanently step into a new identity? And for some of you listening, you're probably like, what does this guy know? Why does he even have the right to talk about it, right? I mean, I've been on my own since I'm 15 years old. I've had to have a lot of struggles. And don't get me wrong, I wasn't living in the street and I wasn't homeless, but I've learned what it was like to have a choice between two paths, right? A path of, maybe going down the road of destruction, doing bad things, and a path of proving the world wrong. And I made a decision to prove the world wrong. And that's exactly what I did. And we could dig as deep into the business. You mentioned the martial arts. The martial arts has been a core staple in my life. For over 35 years, I've been doing it. I never stop. It's the same thing as breathing to me. And I will tell a lot of you that are listening, if you're looking for a core thing to help you with discipline, focus, and just learning how to be relentless. I mean, there's a lot of ways to do it, but I found out for me, martial arts was one of those key things in my life that kept me grounded, focused. And look, today with the world, right? What's going on with this pandemic? This only bothers people that haven't been training for combat. People that have been training for life combat, business combat. This was nothing last year. This was just one more thing to deal with. I know the world might think a little different. This is bad. That's why it's just one more thing to focus on. That's it.
Love it, mate. So true. Our mindset, what we focus on is what happens there. And I love that bit that you just mentioned about the martial arts and, what's been proven for people that are very good at business and have this thing, you could call it grit. Some people might say, right, that discipline, like you said, is having that martial arts background, even like a sporting type background, something that you've had to focus on over a long period of time. But martial arts obviously has that more fighting mentality to it as well. And, so you created your own martial arts system, which is amazing, in my eyes there. So do you want to maybe explain more about it and how that came about?
Yeah. I mean, when you look at the martial arts, I always look at it as, and just look at it life. I came up with one word through many years that this one word has become the quest of everything I do. And the word's mastery, right? Mastery. A lot of people use that term very easily, like, oh, you're going to go for business mastery and this and that. Well, I think it takes a lot more to do it than just say a bunch of words. I've trained martial arts for a long time. I've done Daitaru, Aikido Jiu-Jitsu, Shorin-Ryu Karate, all the Okinawan weapons, Tenshin-Ryu Kenjutsu, live sword. And a lot of you listening are like, what did he just say? It doesn't matter. I looked at, just like I looked at in business, I said, what are all the good aspects of this? And how do they apply into today's world, right? And I found out that at examining a lot of these things, they fit the old like tea ceremony drinking time. It just didn't fit the modern world. Very few people are going to go train martial arts 6 days a week, learn 300 different martial arts katas, give it the time to figure it out. So the question is, should we keep doing a system that very few people will dedicate and go, oh, so they can do this ancient thing? Or does it have to be tweaked and modified to fitting the life today to still make people feel confident, disciplined, focused, and also in a sense of being able to defend and protect themselves and their family? And that's what made me get to the point of saying, well, wait a second. At one time, somebody in some martial arts system said, this is not working. I've learned a bunch of stuff and let me put it together. But I think the last probably a couple hundred years, a lot of people said, oh, this is Taekwondo, or this is Ishinryu, this is this. And that's what it should be forever. But, there's a sense of evolution that has to happen. And we don't walk around barefoot all over the world today. And, there's a different paradigm here. And that led me to say, if I was going to help people go for a sense of mastery, what would have to change in everything I've learned in the form of martial arts, the way, and how can I put it into a way that would make anybody be able to take it, anybody beneficial? It doesn't matter if you're a little child. I used to teach 5-year-old kids, and I used to teach people that are 60 and 70 years old. How can something apply to all of them and also make it fun too? It's not like the old school way where, you got to go in and get bloodied up. And I know everybody's watching this MMA and stuff, and that's great. It's super fun, but there's a whole different way to live within martial arts.
Yeah, very cool. I love that. And I think that's really the key of like on our journey, right? When you start to think, how can I combine all of my knowledge, right, into something that's going to benefit people more, from a business sense, but you've actually done it from a martial arts sense initially as well, which is amazing, right? And then that similar type of thinking, when you bring that into a business sense and go, all these people that I learned from, all these different stuff, and put it to something that's, really going to make a lot of change as well. So that's awesome.
Yeah. And I've been able to take that focus and that discipline and the ability to think different into my companies. I mean, I started out as an electrician, graduated in 1988. This year, actually in a couple of weeks, on May 29th, I'll be level 51. And it's a better way than saying 51 years old, right? I'm leveling up every year. And the cool thing is at level 51, and I'll share a little bit of my backstory, I move faster, I'm stronger, I think quicker than ever before. So I believe that that as time goes on, in improvement and enhancements happen along the way. And that's not what you hear in the world most of the time. Most people are living that age as it's a declining journey. And I'm looking at it as a vertical journey here. But, one of the things that I learned is going to a vocational school, learning in a trade, which today is proven to be pretty recession proof and COVID proof and pandemic proof. I got out and just decided, like probably some of you watching, well, if my boss is kind of an idiot and he can make a living at it, and I got to be able to make a living at it. And that took me on a journey with one of my business partner, and we started an electrical company. And for those of you listening that are like, man, I feel like I don't have it all figured out. Absolutely. Me neither. 10 to 12 years, not figuring out, running, grinding, fixing people's electric stuff, until finally I made a commitment, a decision, right? A big decision that I can't keep doing what I'm doing, because I'm never going to get to a different area. I'm getting burnt out, fatigued. My partner was going to quit. I'm having a I had a son, and I'm saying to myself, I'm going to be just like my dad, hardworking guy, but I'll never be home. I'll never spend enough time with him. And I knew that had to change. I hope for all of you listening, maybe you're at that moment now where it's like, if I could just change it now. And I want to give you hope that you can, because if I can, and I could take a company that I did for 12 years and struggle, and I could take it in a 10-year period from under $1 million to 32 million a year, from next to no profit, garbage, 2% profit to double digits. We had trucks, right? So we drove people around the state of New Jersey, from one truck to 165 trucks, from 3 or 4 employees to 200 employees, and then getting getting acquired by a private equity company, and signing my name and walking away the next day, and at a very high multiple. And if I could do that, anybody can do that.
Yeah, I love that, mate. And so, amazing to hear that story, because we all start somewhere. We don't just rock up and we're successful, right? It's these things. And what I really loved about what you said was the decision. You have to, it's all about making a decision, right? But then the commitment as well with that decision, because we can decide things all the time, but you have to commit to that, saying, I'm going all in, right? In what this is. And if I don't know the information that's going to get me there, I need to find somebody or some organization that's going to help me to do that as well along the way. So,
and I'll share with you a little random side story, because I'm looking at your backdrop there. And I went to Australia one time with my family. A bunch of contractors out there, very successful people, brought me and my family out there. And this is a funny story. I'm going to share it real quick. And my one friend that lives out there, Scott, he says, I'm going to take you guys on this helicopter ride. And I'm like, okay. So we go to another guy, this guy, Bill Miller's house, and he's his brother's house, and they're going to land this helicopter. So my wife's like, oh, this is going to be fun. My kids are little. As we're walking up, this helicopter's coming in. And my wife's, without moving her lips, I think she thought it was going to be like an Air Force One helicopter, except it's like a little one where the dome's here and you're sitting like you might fly into space. And my wife's going, I'm not going in it, as we're walking to it. She's like, I'm not going in it. So I'm like, okay, I've never been in a helicopter before. It's in the guy's backyard. So I get in the helicopter and I got that headset on, like any of you watching me wear that headset. And when you got to smile at your kids, but you're scared crap, right? And you're like, this is going to be fun. And all of a sudden that thing takes off. And we were not far from that area there, because we went down along the water. Man, when we landed, I got to tell you something. A couple things happened. One, I was like, clarity is important. We're going for a helicopter ride. What kind of helicopter? That's the first thing. And the second thing is probably just being brave, what parents just have to do on an everyday basis. Now, my kids, they thought it was amazing. And I was just thinking, just get this thing landing back down. So funny little story from when I went to Australia out there.
Yeah, love it, mate. Very cool story. I haven't been in a helicopter yet myself, but to cruise around the harbour in Sydney Harbour would be amazing. Very cool. And I do love this backdrop, and I love the city that I'm in. I love that, being brave, because, a lot of us, it's easy for us to live in our comfort zone, right? We have to do things that maybe scare us a little bit. Maybe there's a little bit of fear, but then when we do it, it's like feel the fear and do it anyway. Then that's how we keep continuing to grow, right? And you build that muscle. Then, maybe you keep building the type of helicopter. Maybe then eventually you'll be, the one doing, driving the helicopter, right? Like at one point, if you wanted to, right? Each of their own. So I love that.
Yeah.
Really cool. And what I was going to say was, you mentioned obviously the amazing exit that you did, right, with the private equity firm for that, and that's an amazing achievement, right? Like you said, so long struggling, you made a decision within 10 years, massive growth, and then walked away. And I know that was a few years ago now. So I guess you mentioned a little bit how you grew it, but what did you have to do, I guess, at that time? Because obviously, There's probably a lot of people out there that want to get taken over at some point, right? Like if they build it to sell. So there must be something maybe towards the end to make it like, I guess let's call it appealing, right? To a private equity firm.
Yeah. I mean, first you have to come to the acceptance that you're going to exit your company sooner or later. You're either going to sell it, you're going to give it down to family or something generational, you're going to go out of business, or you're going to die. So eventually you're going to leave that company. And that's the first reality you have to come to. The second thing is you have to understand the components of growing and scaling a business. Most people, they understand that they need market positioning and operations and systems. But when you look at that, the number one first thing that has to happen is you have to go through an evolution of personal growth. Most people don't even feel that they're worthy of growing a company. They don't feel they're worthy of wealth. They don't feel they've been brought up with this paradigm. Their mind has been conditioned, and it's conditioned for the level of possibility they have right now. If they had the skill set, they would already be where they wanted to go. And I had an advantage of that with the martial arts, helped me understand no boundaries and no limits. Now, what I did need to figure out was, how do I scale this thing? What don't I know? I already invested in working on myself. We started to grow. I started the business in 1994. We started to grow, I think it was 2004, roughly. I was building myself that time. And I've always been in the world of personal and peak performance since I'm 15 years old. I mean, that's what else is martial arts. I mean, I was in my early 20s. I was teaching at the DARE program for free and helping young kids that were 14 years old dealing with heroin and drugs, and helping them see a new path through the martial arts way. What I didn't realize was there was three fundamental things to know to scale a business. And I would ask my kids the same thing and make sure they knew the three. Number one is marketing. Marketing's key. One of my friends, Dean Jackson, brilliant marketer, he says, marketing is everything and everything is marketing. And then another really good friend of mine, Brian Kurtz, he says, you know what? Marketing is the only thing. But I found out it's not the only thing. It is one of the key things. So I learned how to do marketing, and we could dig a little deeper into the strategies of that. The second thing that I learned was sales is super important. The opportunity to allow people to purchase great value from you. And what I'd like to let everybody know, listen to this, is sales does not have to be this manipulative game that you see out there. People are not a piece of meat. Okay, they're humans. And if you have something of real value, they will come and purchase that value. And if you deliver on it, they'll purchase it again, or they'll refer others. And at one time I thought, well, if we have marketing and sales, we're done, right? But the third part that's key is leadership. And most people read all these things, dysfunctions of teams and this and that, but they don't read the first book. The first book is you have to figure out how to lead yourself. If you don't know how to lead yourself, how the heck are you ever going to read books and learn how to lead other people? So if you put those three together, one of them, marketing, I always say that's emotionally impacting people to come to you, right? So that you can solve a big problem for them. Sales, allowing people to purchase value that changes their life or makes them feel better or solves a problem. And leadership, being able to steer that ship and keep everything going forward. When you see during this pandemic and everybody panicking, that was a number one result indicator of lack of personal leadership skills. In my industry, and we could go there if you want, when we 7 years ago, when I started a company, CEO Warrior, and my whole thing was I was tired of having conversations with friends of mine that were suffering. I would get around them, probably like you're around your friends, you're like, things are going great. And they're like, not for me. I can't hire anybody. I'm broke. And you're like, oh, well, things aren't that good for me. And it's like, I got so tired of hanging around people because I felt like I couldn't share what was good with me. I had to share it, try to find something bad. And that put me on that quest of Start and CEO Warrior, which was, how do I solve this problem? How do I change an industry? And how do I change it forever? How people think about their business, grow their business. But if you look at the leadership problem out there, I mean, you know, we had last year, in the middle of COVID and a pandemic, the companies we were coaching have had their largest years in history. Not because this was not one of those deals where it's like, oh, we had a product on Amazon and it was, you know, it was a game and everybody wanted to buy. No, this was plumbing, electrical, HVAC. People are afraid to have people in their house. They're afraid to be in contact. But our clients had the largest years in history. You know why? Real simple. When a situation happens, you have to identify it really quick, and I'll hand it back to you in a second. You got to identify it as one thing. Is this a problem, or is this an opportunity that I just don't understand yet? That's number one. Number two, a leader has to see that as an opportunity and start playing out, what do I have to do? What do I have to think about? I think going back to the pandemic and sharing this part is very important for everybody, because navigating what I call not the new norm, it's the new world. It's the new world. New norm is a ridiculous term because the norm, there was never a normal. So there is no normal, but there is a new world. And within the new world, you have to be able to navigate these changes like tomorrow is the beginning of it again. See, business builders have always navigated the next thing, the next lawsuit, all of a sudden Facebook takes your marketing ability away, or Google or the post office has, I remember, man, it's a long time ago. I don't know if people remember, but in the US, there was like an anthrax thing, and all of a sudden you had no mail. There was no direct mail. Leaders don't worry about that. Leaders will train carrier pigeons to deliver a marketing message, right? They'll move really quick. So let me stop there, because that's a whole lot of information, and let me know where you want to go to serve everybody.
Yeah, love it, Mike. Amazing there. And what I really loved, you know, to summarize in a quick way was, you know, how you talked about seeing the opportunities, right? Like, and I'll put it to what I looked at, you know, at the start of the pandemic. It's like, oh, we can't see people in person, right? We're locked down and things like that. But actually, it's the opportunity connected to people globally, right? Because Zoom is becoming big and things like that. So how can you look at a situation where a lot of people might be like, oh, I can't see people, I can't do this. It's like, what can I do, right? So that mindset is like so important in business, right? Or anything in life, right? There's always reasons for things, and there's always ways to, you know, move forward and things like that. So I really loved that you mentioned that. And the leadership part, like some people may be like natural leaders, right? You know, and that's fine. But leadership, like other things, are a learned skill as well, right? Anybody can learn this stuff. It's not that hard. It's just might be easier for some than others, but that's really what's going to do. Because in a business, you can get it to six figures, multiple six figures, potentially seven figures, close to, without many staff, right? Depending on your business model. But if you really want to grow, you need people, right, in your business, and that's where, you know, leadership comes into it as well.
Yeah, and then when you think about it, you know, I think about this term mindset, and I thought about it a long time about mindset. Everybody running around, you know, they say be positive. You know, I was positively angry many times, right? But like, and the term mindset is actually a little bit, just so you know, it's a little bit of a self-sabotaging statement. It's like, you know, if you poured concrete in your mind, it would then set, which means it doesn't move anywhere. And I think the world's used a lot of these words like mindset. You know what I'd like to look at it? We have to live in a day of mind growth. The opportunity for our mind to constantly expand, to constantly think different. And I just did another interview today. Really great guy. His show is built to sell. Amazing guy. And the one thing that I was saying about that people got to really think about with this mind growth is it true? If you could just write, if everybody just take a second, everybody, and write down on a piece of paper, is it true? Do I have to have these deal with all these issues. I don't know. Is that true? Do you have to deal with it? Is marketing hard? Is it true? Marketing's expensive. I don't know. Is that really true? Because if you could question your own truth, I know it's probably you think it's true, but what I found out is every time I said, like when I was growing my service company, I was like, is this true? I was like, no, the fact that that's true for you, not me. When I started the coaching company called CEO Warrior, I went out there and I was calling myself the business ninja. Made sense. Tattooed martial arts guy, right? And you know what? They laughed at it. People thought it was like silly and they didn't take me serious. And then before you know it, I started to impact an industry. And people started saying, my company's doubling. My relationships are getting better. My employees want to come to work. They don't want to go home. And then all of a sudden it started to get real. Like, wait a minute, this guy's not going away. He's committed to this. Now we have a whole team of amazing team that helps serve people. And, you know, we're in, I don't know, 5 or 6 countries. You know, we serve 42 different industries. But if you look at the connected dots, which is, I think is important for everybody. I don't want whoever's listening, don't be there like Mike is great. I don't want you to end here thinking I'm cool and great. Okay, so I'll feel good, you won't. Here's what I want you to think about through this time together. You're already cool. What can you see as the strategies and the tactics that you could pull from this? Like, hey, am I playing it too safe? Am I playing the pity game? Am I in the complaining game? Like the first thing you get together with people, they just want to, first they want to know your private stuff, right? Like, hey, have you gotten this or not got it? I'm like, I don't remember you ever asking me about private stuff, about other stuff. And then the second thing they want to know is, oh, you know, have you been dealing with this? And so on. It's like, hang on a second. Do you want to talk about struggles or do you want to talk about progress? And you should probably write that down because I got a lot of the world's talking about struggles and they're not talking about progress. And if you look at progress breaks down into one thing, right? How humanly powerful are you? How humanly powerful are you? And if you're powerful, you're not letting these things affect you. You're not letting the news and the dynamics and what everybody's saying and Facebook this, you know, we're in the greatest like divergence of all time in history. We really are. People don't think so. But I was listening to stats before. I was listening to a live interview of Kevin O'Leary from Shark Tank. And, you know, if you look at the stats where one industry might be down 100%, another one is up like 1,000%. And this is globally. There's no lack of wealth and opportunity anywhere in the world. There's not. There's only a lack of power and ability to go use that power to go improve your life. Let me give you one more word. I gave you the word mastery. I feel it's a really good word to write down, to look at it every day, to embrace inside what that feels. The second one that matches up with mastery, which can really make you feel amazing, is legacy. And in order to get a legacy, it's very rare to do that without hitting a level of mastery, right? If you go combine those two and every day say, what level of mastery do I have to get to legacy? Now that hits at different stages. Me, I got that really early. I was probably in my 40s, maybe late 30s. I was already like, I need to make sure there's an impact on the planet, you know, because there becomes a point where you're so successful, money's not a problem. You could get what you want. And then you say to yourself, how much do you need? When the only thing that really matters is how many people will you impact and where will you impact them?
Yeah, love it, mate. So amazing points there. I'm sure, I hope everybody's writing these things down because there's a lot of gold coming out of Mike right now. And, you know, attaining that level of mastery in those different areas of your life and business, and then thinking about the long term with the legacy. And, you know, let's take it back a little bit to what you were mentioning before, right? About marketing. Like you talked about those 3 main pillars, right? And marketing obviously, you know, is attracting people, getting leads and things like that. And I see a lot of businesses out there where they're basing a lot on referrals, right? Like it's like, let's use the referral system. And yes, you know, referrals do work a lot with breaking down some barriers and getting people in, and that's a part of it. But we need to like go bigger than that, right? To be able to build a sustainable business. So do you want to maybe share more about marketing and that, how we can help grow that?
Yeah. I think everybody's got to really start to understand what marketing is, right? Marketing is more than, a Facebook ad or a 9-word email or a podcast. Like, it's so much more. You got to look at marketing as this earth, right? And within that earth, you want to ask yourself, what do I need to be for people to see that? The number one first thing that has to be marketable is you, not you as an expert. Don't get me wrong, not about authority and credibility. It has to be your inside understand the concepts and the ability that what you believe in so much is marketable, right? If I go out there and I take a piece of paper here and I go, okay, I'm going to market this. Well, I don't know. Maybe I guess I could try to call that origami or something, but is that really marketable? Maybe it's not marketable. And I don't think enough people step back and look at the fundamentals of things about saying, hang on, let me really know, what is my product? What does it do? How do I get it out there? And I don't even know the stats. They used to say 20 years ago, you got to see something like 9 or 10 or 12 times. I don't even know what did they do? Ask a million people, like, how many times you see it, right? And they would say, then somebody would come and buy from you. What's it now? 9,000 times? The noise is so big. So when you look at marketing, it's not even about standing out. It's about standing different. There's a little different. Like, standing out could be a one-time, you have a unicorn hat on. Okay, you see this on Facebook. You see it 3 times. You don't want to see it no more, right? Also about marketing, when you think about that, is you have to understand the psychology of marketing, right? Like, how do people want to consume a message? What are they looking for? And there's some really clear things for marketing today. One, we know people are starving for connection, right? I mean, they are. The pandemic, like, when they open up the whole world, nobody's even going to know, like, they don't even know what to do. You walk up to your buddy and you question your own mind if you should hug your own buddy. Can you imagine that? A year and a half ago, you jump on your buddy's back. You didn't think nothing of it. Is it really different? I don't think it's different. I think it's been perceived different. You're watching the global world of marketing right now. The world's in a marketing the pandemic, maybe not in a beneficial way for humanity, but it is, right? It's taking something and look, it is a tactic of marketing, right? You can market through pleasure, or you could market through fear, whatever you choose, right? There's no really right or wrong, as long as it's good with good intentions. And I'm a big believer in integrity. When you look at marketing too, you have to understand it as a 360 approach. Like, what's it look like? What's it feel like? What's it act like? What do I want people to think about later? What's the name? What's the mission? What's the movement? That's before we even get to the branding, which is like, if you look at marketing's like the just the shell of the car. It's not even the engine. Then you go to branding and branding starts to put a little fuel in it. When you go to positioning, then it's like dropping an engine in. And this is what I've had. And somebody said to me, if you would give what's one of the number one skill sets that most people don't understand, it's marketing. I mean, a lot of people were brought up to sell, right? I mean, your dad might have been, I used to always sell, my dad could sell snow to an Eskimo, So that's a natural thing. You could watch the behavior. But if you look at marketing, right? Marketing, I don't believe it is intuitive. I don't believe it is easy. I believe you got to study it for like a decade or more. And if you're not studying it now, you should start right now. And you should invest in the greatest in the world. I'm glad and honored they're here with us. And you're doing such a great job serving the world, because they might hear one thing on this show. It might impact their life forever. I hope they come back and remember you for it. But if you look at that from the perspective is you have to start marketing right now. That's how important it is. And if I'm here telling you that I built mega companies and I'm just an average tattoo guy, well, then sure the heck you could do even more than me.
Yeah. Love that, mate. It's so powerful. And understanding, breaking down marketing like that and, Yeah, definitely. I've like I didn't finish school myself, right? But I went back and I did an MBA, right? And I couldn't even study, right? And that was a challenge, but I was focused, I was determined, right, to do it. And I learned a lot about marketing there. But learning from that sense is great, and there's a lot of great skills in an MBA and stuff like that. But where you learn from people that are very successful in these areas, right? That's where you get the really good stuff, right? Like you get base level. So you get some stuff from books and stuff like that. But I would say is find some people who you can learn from. Like I know yourself, you work with, one of the best, probably the best marketers in the world, like Jay Abraham, right? And, that man is just a business genius, right? In marketing and just everything, right? About business and about opportunities. So, can you find people like Jay? Can you learn from people that can allow you to, instead of hopefully taking 10 years, maybe it'll only take you a few years, right? To get to the point where you really understand marketing so you can make that difference in what you're doing right now. And then, link that with sales, right? Because, marketing is one area to get you to do it, but then you need to be able to sell at the same time.
Yeah. Let me share a story about Jay Abraham. So I had invested in a very good charity, and part of the charity, the investment, I don't know what it was, maybe 15, 20,000. It was a good cause. And part of it was you got to spend some time with Jay Abraham, half a day. And that was kind of a cherry on top of the cause. I would have given money to the cause anyway. And I was thinking, I already built at that time, probably 25 million. It's already a big company. If you look statistically of how many companies do 25 million or more, it's next to nothing. And I went with my partner. We went to California, and it was in Beverly Hills, and we met him in a hotel. And anybody who knows Jay, he's one of the best dressers there is, hands down. He's always sharp. And we're in a room, and he starts and he's asking questions. We're into it. We're only 2 hours into it. And he turns to me and he goes, normally at this point, people are just burnt out. And in martial arts, we have a thing where you tap, right? When you're in pain, you call it tapping out. And 2 hours in, he goes, look, we don't have to stay for 4 hours. We'll pick up a phone call. And I was tapping out in 2 hours. But there's a very important point here. After that, I left and I said, holy mackerel. I made 2 commitments that day. And I hope this helps all of you listening. Commitment number 1 was this. It might surprise you. I said, I will never be around anybody again that within 2 hours I have to tap out. I will master what he does. And then I studied with him as my one-on-one coach for 3.5 years. Now, I invested a lot. It's one highest paid consultant on earth. But I said to myself, I will never get to that point. And since then, which is now probably 4-something years ago that it's been, I've been on stage with him at either my events or somewhere else, like, dozens of times. And he's brilliant, but I'm also brilliant in my own way. Number 2 decision I made was I would never let information be a waste of time. And you should write that down, everybody. Don't let this time together ever be a waste of time. They say, well, if you leave with one thing, it was worth it. And that's perfect. I want you to leave with one thing you'll do. Because you see, we're in a world today of consuming things. People, you go on Facebook today. I could write a book, and I've written 17 books now. We have a couple more be coming out, and I could go out there and say this book is the biggest book of garbage, and I could put it on social media, and everybody will want to consume it. Not for me, because people are junkies of information. I would say to them, like, what? Why are you reading that book? Like, you're coming to this show for a reason. You want to grow your business and you want to implement something. But if you wanted to learn how to, deal with your teenage daughter, probably wouldn't be the right show for that. Different demographic, right? Different thing. And people are in such a state of consumption, and the world has conditioned them to consume more, right? I mean, Netflix, did you ever get hooked on one of those? I mean, the show, I don't know if you guys have it out there. You watch Schitt's Creek. Did you ever? Like, I fought my wife on this show forever. I'm like, I'm not gonna Schitt's Creek. I don't know if it's Schitt's Creek or Schitt's Creek, whatever. And I fought with her forever to watch it. Then all of a sudden I watched it. I was hooked. I watched the whole damn thing, right? Because it's consumption. And that's a good point to bring back on marketing. You look at everybody marketing their businesses online. They're doing marketing. They're not doing connecting stories. And that's where Netflix is the best in the world. And there's a lot of other services, but when you're on a series, you watch it, and in the end, you're like, they leave you at the moment. You're like, I'm not done. And all of you should write that down, because in your marketing, if people are consuming it, you're like, it's going away. And they're like, no, I'm not done. Give me more. And they're like, well, we'll see you tomorrow. Come on back tomorrow. Come on back tomorrow. Right. Just like this show. Like we want to say, you're not done after this. There's going to be something, but you better come back next time, because we're going to pick up here. We're going to pick up on this thing. Right. And so, I think that's just like, we're in a world that if you understand these key fundamental things about consumption and marketing and sales, and get out of the, like, identify what you want it to be too, right? When I look at sales, I am really clear. It can't be manipulative at all. It has to feel good. And I have to be able, I used to say to I had 200 employees 4 years ago in my service company, when I go home and kiss my kids goodnight, or I say goodnight to them, I want to make sure I'm doing it with a very pure, like, soul, right? Not that I traded it for the devil on manipulative approaches. And you see it. I'm sure you see it too, because you're in the expert space. There's all these people teaching things, and you say to yourself, like, feel like I got a shower after that whole thing. And I want to tell everybody listening, you don't have to do it that way. I promise you.
Yeah. I love that, mate. So many awesome, points and gold that's coming out of here. So I hope everybody is, writing notes. And there's a couple of things there that I want to highlight, right? Like you said, a couple of commitments, right, that you did. And that was the thing that got you there, on your decisions. Now, sometimes, we can have fear, right? And that may stop us from committing. But there's a great line, that I've heard that I, have embodied myself and tell my clients is, commit first and believe later, right? So because we don't, it's our beliefs, right? That enable us to make decisions. But at the same time, you need to go out there and say, you know what, I'm just going to commit to this thing. I'll find a way, whatever it is. And then once you do that, as humans, we naturally find a way, right? As long as we have that focus, it's really powerful.
Yeah, fear, if you understand fear, I went and started studying the mind many years ago. And the reason I was studying it, because I was trying to fix my own mind, right? That's why I studied it. And along my journey, I started to understand all these things. I trained in NLP and, learned that people do this tapping thing, and they're all good things. They're really not the most beneficial thing when you talk about it. There goes to this energy level, and everybody's got to understand they have this energy level, and within it has a whole bunch of things that happened. That's why when you're walking, you always have you have this energy around you. You have this sense of fear enters that before it enters your mind. And when it enters that, you have this natural protective mechanisms within the cells of your body saying, don't jump off that bridge. And that's why any of you that ever did, and I'm not a big roller coaster, I think as I got older, I got less interested than when I was younger. You hit the top and you get that fluttering in your whole body, and it's like a shiver, and it's like, that's your body's field saying, I don't know, should you be going down this King Kong, whatever thing there? But if you look at fear, you want to be brave, but you don't want to be ignorant either. Fear is a good thing in many ways, because it could be a very big motivator. Probably 15 years ago, I wanted to really figure out a lot of these. How do you break through? Actually, I did it in Australia. I ran a firewalk in Australia, and I've been doing firewalking for probably 15 or maybe even longer years, along with firewalking, arrow breaking, glass walking, and had people do all these extreme things. And what I figured out about fear that someone taught me, a really famous guy, is actually what I would consider the founder of firewalking in the world, even though it's 5,000 years old. He brought it into the modern, is a guy, Tali Burkan. And Tali Burkan said, fear is false evidence appearing real. Now I got to tell you, when you go to an event and did you ever do firewalking?
Yes, I've done it.
Yeah. Okay. When you go to an event, you do firewalking, everybody's doing it. So you figure I could do it. And I did it before that too. When I did my own fire in my backyard and was going to do it, everything changed. Fear settled in. It's like, is it the right wood? Is it the right location? Am I doing it the right way? And then all of a sudden, trust has to enter. And if you enter trust, it makes fear step aside. And then you walk. And at the end, if everything's good, your trust grows. If you have what we used to call pizza feet is when somebody's not in state, they're not prepared, it's not the right environment, and all of a sudden they get a bunch of little holes in their feet. And then all of a sudden they lose trust. It's not the trust in the firewalk, they lose trust in themselves. They made a bad decision. How did they let themselves go across this and get hurt? And that's the same thing in business here. If you think about a decision, like, look at how many people in the US we had, and I don't know how it was dynamic and what happened in Australia and other parts of the globe. But in the US, the last recession was as close to the Great Depression. People lost money, they lost businesses, it created fear. Well, when do you think that fear came back? It just came back a year and a half ago. No, but most of the people never lived through a pandemic. They never did. And maybe if you want to talk, we could talk about, I don't know if it's appropriate for the show, we could talk about the aftershock of really what people should be thinking about in business now. Is not the pandemic. That's pretty much done. It's the aftershock of the pandemic they should think about. But if you look at fear, it showed back up with the pandemic. They don't know why. They never lived through a pandemic, but they got all this fear. Not fear of sickness. It was fear of economic destruction and business destruction and what happens if it goes away. See, I've been through everything. I've been through 9/11, Y2K, the recession. So after all these things of having a track record, any business I had, never had a down year, never had a flat year, even through the recession. You know why? Stepping fear aside and putting trust in front. I trust that I will either figure it out or learn quickly. I've trained my brain that way. Not because I'm the smartest person in the world, just because I'm pretty resilient and I will not stop until I get it done.
Yeah, I love that, mate. Amazing points there. And, it shows the mind growth element that we need, right? And that belief we need to have, that trust in ourselves, our abilities to find a way. And this probably segues really well into Fudog Group, right? With what you do there. So do you want to maybe share a bit more about what you're doing there, which is more recently?
Yeah, I mean, I've been training business owners. First off, I've been training people in self-defense, combat, mindset, chi energy, all this stuff for my whole life. And then I started teaching business owners to grow. And I found out I could get business owners to grow $5, $10, $20 million. And some of them would win really big. And some of them would grow a business and get divorced. Some of them would grow a business and lose connection with their kids. Some of them would grow a business and lose their belief in whatever they believe in, higher power, God, universe. I started to say to myself through all these years, what the heck is going on here? And I started to figure it out. People are growing their business, but they're not personally growing at the rate of speed that it needs to be satisfied with the business growth. So if you want to grow a business really, really fast today, I believe you need two dynamics. You need a business growth dynamic, and you need a personal growth dynamic. You need both of those. I only focused on the business side at almost the consequence of one time very serious conflict in my personal relationship with my wife. You know why? I was growing business, but I wasn't growing personal. I was growing business, but I wasn't allowing my wife. She wasn't growing. She was taking care of the kids. She was doing the things while I was out there. And when you really look at it, and I'm sure a lot of people listening are going to go, holy crap, that makes a lot of sense. I always say this, like I'm doing a training now. It's a 5-week training on wealth. Like when should you learn about wealth? Like when you get there, or how will you ever get there if you don't learn about it? And we're not talking about Bitcoin and stocks. Like, how do you even process the dynamics of wealth could be, is, how it feels to you? I mean, let me make one point there, and it probably tie back why I chose to do Fudog Group, which is all about human potential, peak performance. I always say this, it's taking a human and making them superhuman in every aspect of their life, from relationships to, spirituality. Look at all the self-sabotaging that's been happening without you knowing, or sabotaging. Like, how many of you listening, and answer it out loud like we could hear you here, picked up $1 or a coin as a kid, and what did your parents say? Like, they either said, don't touch it, or go wash your hands. Money is dirty. And you're wondering why you struggle to grow a business. What if that one unresolved situation is just buried so back in your programming that it's been running your life? Money is dirty. My dad used to say, money doesn't grow on trees. Well, when I was doing about $20 million, you know what I told my dad? I said, Dad, I remember you say this. I said, I think you're wrong. If you had orange trees, apple trees, you'd pick that off and sell it for money. Money does grow on trees. He goes, I just taught you what my dad taught me and taught the other. So I wanted to solve a thing. And my wife and I had a conversation, said, why don't we enter this space? Why don't we help people personally? Why don't we help them with things that they just don't know? I mean, are you really a champion? You grow a nice business, you're making lots of money, and the relationship that you started, that you had children with, and I'm not saying, look, some of you, maybe some relationships don't need to stay together, but I bet they could if they didn't get lost and you personally grew along the way. I'm a firm believer of that. Who knows what the divorce rate is now globally? It was hitting 50-something% way before the pandemic. What's it now? 60, 70%? That's why we went that route. And we do it in some unique things. We did a training called Seekers of Power. How do you understand this power you have here? And you're way more powerful than textbooks are making you think. We did another training called One Life. It was about looking at every aspect of life. And the best thing that anybody listening should know about me is, look, I don't have all the answers. I figured out a whole bunch of stuff to do and not do. And I really examined the journey along the way. And I'm not afraid to tell you, like, I struggled here and I didn't struggle here. And that's what people are really, they're craving that today. They're craving improvement. And this is so important. I've set a decision for myself to impact 1 million people or more in 100 countries or more in a decade or less. And that's started this year. And from going from 0 to now, we're already in 6 countries. We've impacted well over 500 people. We'll do more here. And to make that change, because if everybody here could step back, let's give them one big, huge nugget here. If you could step back a minute and say to yourself, what's going to be the most important thing someday? Besides your family and their safety and security, it's going to be that this world needs a change in humanity. It does. Otherwise, you're going to leave your kids with a pile of crap. It's going to be a nightmare for them. And I think we all of us here, especially, this is called the Business Growth Show, right? That means you should take personal responsibility to grow I normally would curse now, your business. You know why? Because that responsibility is going to change part of the world. That's why I'm so proud of what you're doing for everybody here. You don't have to do this on the show. This takes time, right? You're not near people you care about or doing something you want, because that's how much you care about impacting somebody right now. And do you know the starfish story? Did you ever hear that before?
No, I haven't heard it.
Okay, let me share it with you. It's a good story. And all of you can relate that are listening to this. So I'm going to give you my variation of it. Okay. So, and somebody told this to me probably over 20 years ago. So there's this little girl on the beach, and there's thousands and thousands of starfish, and she's picking up one at a time and she's throwing it in the water. Thousands of them. And this old timer comes down and says, little girl, what are you doing? He says, I'm just throwing starfish back into the ocean, just saving starfish. So he sits there, he's watching her one at a time, thousands and thousands. He goes, little girl, you can't possibly save them all. She goes, oh, no, I know that, but I just saved that one. And when you look at that, it's the same thing for your customers, no matter what service you do. If you help people grow their coaching business, or you help solve a problem in somebody's house, you know what you're doing? You're not delivering a service. You're saving somebody from something, even if it's as simple, and I don't know if it's that simple, unhappiness. Even if you're saving them from unhappiness, you just save that one. And I hope that story, I didn't make up this story. I do have a story I did create if you want to hear that one.
Why not, Mike? Let's do it.
Okay. All right, let's do it. So everybody knows the, and maybe this will take us to a finish line unless you have a big question in the end. Everybody knows the genie in the bottle, right? Genie in the bottle. Well, I want to give you a different variation of the genie in the bottle. So you find a genie in the bottle. Okay, all of you start looking. Do you have one? All right, so you have this genie in the bottle, and you rub this genie in the bottle, and the genie comes out, whatever you want it to look like. And it says to you, I will give you any wish you want, as long as I know you can't give the wish to yourself. What would your first wish be? So you turn around and you go, well, I would like to grow my business to 20 million. And the genie looks at you and says, okay, but I can't do that for you because I told you I could only grant you a wish. You can't grow yourself. And it goes back in the genie bottle. So you go, okay, well, I can do it myself. So you have a new sense of belief. So you go, I'm going to give the genie a bigger one. You rub the bottle, genie comes out. I will grant you any wish as long as I know you can't grant the wish yourself. So you go for a big one. You say, you know what? I'm going to remove starving people from the world. I'm going to remove it. And the genie says to you, I told you I can only grant you a wish that I know you can't grant yourself. And it goes back in. And if you think about that, I was thinking about this like the last year on what the world does to try to solve a problem and maybe how it could do it different. We had all this, I'm sure maybe in Australia, other parts of the world, all this money they gave out, right? Like, hey, stimulus money, I'm going to give it here and give it there. I was thinking one day, like, what about if we didn't give stimulus money, but we gave a solution for you to learn how to create money yourself? What if we just didn't feed one family? We put them into a business where they could do something and make money forever to feed themselves. You see, that's the genie in the bottle thinking. When you think that you can't do it and you have to beg something else that's like going for the lottery to do it, then all of a sudden you're stuck in that thinking of what's really possible versus what is possible. So I challenge all of you to keep going at that genie bottle. And the gift is it will keep telling you it will only give you what you cannot give yourself. And so there's a little challenge for all these amazing listeners.
What an amazing section there, Mike. That was great. And this probably is a great way to end this, lovely thing on an amazing note. And I hope that everybody has listened to this and has done the actions that Mike's, and it's piqued your curiosity as well, right? How can I think differently, right? In what I'm doing and everything like that, because very powerful this, in what Mike's done, and he's got the runs on the board, right, to do it. So it's really amazing. We connected through our networks where I learned about your next level journey from starting at nothing to building a 32 million and a $40 million per year businesses.
Yeah.
Right? You've worked hard on your mindset, or mind growth, as you like to call it, which is amazing, and focus to achieve your huge success. You're an entrepreneur who all of us should model, right? To be able to achieve similar success. Amazing, right? And you've delivered your clients awesome results as well, right? With your passionate programs, which is amazing, changing that world. And, you're an awesome guy as well, always happy to share and, provide a lot of golden nuggets to everybody that's listening today. And I'm sure you'll, continue to disrupt the big players, right, in the world on, your journey to the top. So I'm very grateful that we connected and I look forward to working in the future as well, Mike.
Yeah, thank you. And if I could help anybody, I hope it's okay to say it. If you're in a service business and you want to grow your service company, doesn't matter if you're in New Zealand, Australia, Canada, all over the globe, go to ceowarrior.com. Check us out. We got free resources there. If you're looking to impact your life, change the way you interact with your family or relationships, you want to step up your personal game and become superhuman in every aspect of your life, go to Fudog, Fudog group.com. Check it out. And if anybody in the world, if you're just struggling with anything, like just maybe hit me up in a private message. If I have a resource, I'll give you something. I don't want to see anybody struggling out there. And I promise you, the last thing I'll leave you with, besides thank you for having me on your show. Everybody should give kudos to him. He could be doing a lot of things, but he's serving all of you. Here's what I'll tell you. If I could do this, I promise you, you could do what I did and so much more. Boom.
Boom. Love that. So thank you everyone for watching, listening to this show where we talk about everything on business growth. Please like, subscribe, and leave us a 5-star review. You can find me on Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, and YouTube as Athin Cassiotis, or visit my website, athincassiotis.com. I completely agree with you, or do I? The only way we know is if you tune in next time. So until next time, remember that our business grows when we learn skills and take action using them in spite of fear. Have a great day.